Do you want financial freedom? Well, I'm going to tell you how to build a foundation for that today. Welcome back to Michael's Money. I'm Michael. This is my channel. I talk about personal finance, investments, and side hustles. If that interests you, stick around and please consider subscribing. In this video, I'm going to tell you how to build a foundation for financial freedom using the emergency savings system. Some of you may be thinking
that this is not the most exciting financial video.
Which I agree, it wasn't always my favorite topic, but it is one of the most important areas of personal finance, and it's the baseline foundation for everything to come in our personal finance journeys. The emergency savings is a very interesting category. We'll talk about three areas of that. The first is going to be how much or for how long we need to save. Secondly, we're going to cover what we're going to pay for with this emergency fund if the need arises. Thirdly, we're going to talk about how we're going to store it or house these funds and the best ways to do that. Now, the first aspect is how much or for how long we need to save. Now, most experts agree, and I do as well, that 3 to 6 months of living expenses is how much you will need. To some people, that means different things. Some people will want to save the baseline of bills just to get by. There is a secondary method where you save 3 to 6 months of expenses that would cover everything that might come up. So that if you, for instance, lost your job or had a major medical emergency, nothing would be impacted in your life financially. I personally lean towards the 3 to 6 months of emergency savings for just the bare essentials, because if you think about it from a logical sense, when you lose your job, you're not going to be thinking,
hey, let's live up life to the best we can.
But that's again, just my personal opinion on it. Now that we covered how long and for how much you need to save, we're going to talk about what this fund is for and what it is not for. This is a very touchy subject with some people because they just want to use it as their piggy bank. Now, this emergency savings is for pure emergencies. That sounds like a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised how many people often dive into their emergency savings to get that new couch or to fund the vacation or to buy the gift for the children on Christmas because they didn't foresee Christmas coming, even though, guys, Christmas comes every year on December 25th. So just remember, it's for emergencies only. So that is unforeseen, high cost things. So that's going to be like if your tire blows out, that's an emergency.
Kohl's is running a great sale.
That's not an emergency. It's in your own life that you have to determine what is an emergency, but you want to use some common sense and really evaluate for yourself, do I need this in my life? And if the answer is no, it's not an emergency then. Lastly, guys, we're going to talk about where you're going to store these funds or how you're going to house your emergency fund. Now, there are several schools of thought on this. I'm going to tell you the basic ideas, and then I'm going to tell you what I personally do. So the ideas are that you're going to store this in one of 3 places. The first place is probably the most risky and probably my least advised, is that's going to be just as cash in your mattress, in your closet, in your personal safe, cash on hand, ready to go. This is the most accessible, but it's also the most at risk of theft or fire or any kind of damage that may come to it, so I don't necessarily recommend this option. And also it's at danger to what we're going to talk about in the next thing, which is inflation. Just a fancy way of saying that your money can't buy as much as it used to. Now, if this is kind of confusing, just think what your parents made when they started at their job and what it could buy, and what you make when you started at your job and what it can buy. That's basically inflation. Inflation sits around 1.5 to 2.5% depending on the year. It averages about 2% per year. So the next categories are what's going to help protect it both from risk of loss from actual physical damage or theft, and also it's going to protect it from inflation, at least somewhat. The first option is a money market account, which I'm going to delve deeper into in another video, but just suffice to say that it's basically a near secure investment that will return a very low interest rate on your money. Now, it just depends on the going rates on the market. It's usually between 0.5% to 2% depending on the fund you choose. The third option is going to be a savings account. Now, this sounds basic, but you don't want to go with just any savings account because not all savings accounts are created equal. Some savings accounts, like I had the majority of my teenage years growing up, it gave me 0.1% interest, which, guys, that is just basically nothing. You might as well just not have it. It's basically just as good as having it in the mattress. The savings accounts I'm referring to are what's called high interest savings accounts. Now, these can be easily found online. You can just do a quick, easy Google search, best high interest savings accounts, you'll be returned with several. These interest rates can vary, and that will be determined, and it can go up and down. So it's not a set amount, but getting an adjustable amount that can go up and down, but is absolutely higher than 0.01% is definitely what I recommend. In my personal high interest savings account at this very moment, I'm getting about 1.85%. And just for your own personal reference, I put it in there starting about 6 months ago. At that time, I was making about 2.1%. The interest rate can go up and down, but it's definitely a place to hold it, because if I just had it in any of the other places, it would be getting next to nothing. So there you have it, guys. That's your emergency savings, what I call the foundation of financial freedom. Because without this, all the investing you do is going to come to naught, because once something comes up, once there's a bump in the road, you will have to delve either into debt, which is even worse because then you're paying someone interest, or you have to unplug your investments, which we'll talk about later, and that is definitely a bad thing. So once again, guys, I'm Michael. This is Michael's Money. If you like what you saw, smash that like button. And if you want to see more of my content about personal finance, investments, and side hustles, consider subscribing. And don't forget to hit the little bell icon. Thanks. Have a good day.